Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Sporo. Today I'm back with another video. Watch me transform from basic to a queen. I hope you enjoy this video and don't forget to subscribe, like, share and comment. I start off by priming my eyes for my eyeshadow using my Girl Pro Conceal concealer in the shade Fawn. To blend the concealer, I'm using the Real Techniques Miracle Mini Eraser Sponge and using the same sponge to set the concealer using the black Opal Soft Velvet Finishing Powder in the shade Medium and dusting away any excess. I'm using the brown shade in the Swiitchbeauty SlaysForDays palette as my transition shade, and I'm using the Swiitchbeauty crease brush to apply. To intensify the crease, I'm adding a darker brown shade from the same palette, and I'm doing that using the Real Techniques Deluxe crease brush. And just to make sure that my eyeshadow is nice and blended, I am using a Real Techniques base shadow brush which doesn't have any eyeshadow, and just going back to that Swiitchbeauty crease brush as well, just to blend out. I'm using the same Girl Pro Conceal in the shade Fawn to create my half cut crease, and the trick especially for hooded eyes is to apply the concealer on the tip of your eyelid and then looking up. Where the concealer transfers, that's how far you will go with your half cut crease. I'm using the Essence Metal Shock eyeshadow in the shade Solar Explosion on my half cut crease. And now I'm switching over to the Swiitchbeauty TaupeNotch palette just to add that orangey bronzer shade on my eyelid. To line my upper lid, I'm using the Essence Superfine Waterproof Eyeliner Pen. To prime my face, I'm using the Smashbox Photo Finish Foundation Primer. This is to minimize my pores and to create a base for my foundation. To color correct the spots on my face, I'm using the orange shade on this concealer palette. For foundation, I'm using my MAC Studio Fix foundation in the shade NW43 and using my Real Techniques Expert Face brush to apply. To blend my foundation, I'm using the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge, and it's actually dry. I'm not trying to take away any of the foundation, but just to buff it in and just blend. To highlight, I'm using the Girl Pro Conceal in the shade Cool Tan. I'm just applying the concealer under my eyes, a bit of the forehead, down the center of my nose, my chin and also my cupid's bow, and I'm going to be blending it out with the Real Techniques complexion sponge. To contour my nose and cheeks, I am using the Girl Pro Conceal in the shade Mahogany. I decided last minute to also contour my forehead, and this shade actually for my contour is a bit too dark for me. I should have used a shade 1 or 2 shades darker than my complexion. The biggest trick now when it comes to contouring is to make sure that everything is nice and blended in so that no harsh lines can be seen. So I'm using a contour brush to try and blend in. Later on you'll see me using a sponge. I'll use a powder as well, just to make sure those harsh lines are not easily visible. To set my highlight on all the spots that I have highlighted, I am using my black Opal Soft Velvet Finishing Powder once again in the shade Medium. To dust away all that setting powder, I'm using my MAC Studio Fix powder in the shade NW43, and just to make sure I remove all of the setting powder. To powder contour, I'm using the next 3 steps to Sculpt palette in the shade Medium. I'm just applying a little bit of the setting powder just to make my contour pop and just to clean up any excess that I might have had. Just to soften up any harsh contour lines, I'm using just my face powder. For blush, I am using the Ralo blusher in the shade Amber, and I'm using my Real Techniques blush brush. And now my favorite part, to highlight, I'm using my Swiitchbeauty Glowgasm palette, and the only color I ever use here is this bronze shade. I absolutely love it. I'll be using it to highlight my cheeks, my nose, Cupid's bow, and inner corners of my eyes. Oh yes, and the brow bone. I also am using the same shade to highlight my brow bone. I'm going to use my MAC Studio Fix powder in NW43 again, just to powder all over my face. And for my classic red lip, I'm using the Connie Transform lipstick in the shade Dance With Me. To set my face, I'm using my Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray